Good morning. It's 12:15. Let's go ahead and get our webinar started. I'm Bill Baer, product manager here in our SharePoint product group, coming to you live from SharePoint Conference Las Vegas here in beautiful Nevada. And joining me today is
Brian Alderman. I didn't know if you were talking to me. No, yeah, thank you. Again, our apologies. We want to thank you for your patience today. We had some technical difficulties, but we're ready to rock and roll here. And we're gonna record this. We'll make this recording available to you as soon as we can get everything rendered and uploaded to a site, and that we'll be sharing with everyone. So, Bill, you announced some great news in your session yesterday here in Vegas. Mm-hmm. A lot of clapping, a lot of excitement. So I'm sure everyone that's on board here and listening to us live, and will be listening to this recording as well, are excited to hear about what's coming up with SharePoint 2019.
Absolutely. We've had a lot of great announcements so far. Today is only the second day of the SharePoint conference here in Las Vegas, but we've had a lot of excitement around SharePoint Server 2019 already. And what Brian and I would like to do with you today, for those of you that couldn't join us, Brian was kind enough to pull together a webinar so we could take a first look for those that couldn't make it to Vegas. So over the course of about the next hour, we're going to have a ton of demonstrations available for you, as well as talk a little bit about what we're investing in the next generation of our server product.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, there was some great stuff that you get the crowd on their feet yesterday. It was good.
Great, thanks. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just dive right into some of these topics. One of the first questions that attendees have asked me about SharePoint Server 2019 here in Las Vegas was kind of what were the guiding principles behind this particular release. So with SharePoint Server 2016, we felt like we created a great foundational release for the future. And that's really how we framed that version of our server product, a foundation for the future. So some of the things that we did, obviously, SharePoint Server 2016 was the first version of our server that we shipped out of our cloud code base. We implemented the feature pack model that got a lot of people really excited to allow us to deliver innovation at a much more rapid cadence. But really, the reason I'm talking about this is because it gave us so much in respect to learning in order to prepare for a great release through SharePoint Server 2019. So we built a real solid base to start building the next generation of our product.
Yeah. I mean, from what we've seen, and you're going to see some of this live as well, as Bill does some of the demonstrations that he did in the live session yesterday. It looks sweet. I'm excited for 2019, and we're also, by the end of the show or session, we're going to let you know when you can expect to be able to get your hands on these new bits and start playing with it, which is it's sooner than I expected, actually. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think at the end of the session, we'll reserve some time for questions and answers. Obviously, for those of you in the chat, you can ask questions there. We'll be monitoring it. And throughout the course of our discussion today, we'll try to get those answered for you. But we're going to wrap up with a little bit of roadmap. So stick around so you can get that roadmap. Just to go ahead and get started with what we're thinking about from a server perspective is, as we thought about SharePoint Server 2016 or 2019, I talked a little bit just a moment ago about how we used SharePoint 2016 as our guidance or our foundation for building this version of SharePoint. But really what we wanted to be able to do was deliver a modern platform to our customers on premises today. And the way that we're doing that is across three core pillars of investments. So if you recall our investment areas for SharePoint Server 2016, we really focused on enabling great IT and developer experiences. And this time around, what we're working on is not only will we have a ton of IT value for the IT professional, a ton of new developer value for our developers to extend SharePoint, but we've also got a lot of great investments in these three pillars that we categorize as your ability to share and work together, to inform and engage your organization, as well as your ability to transform business processes. And really what that means, that last one sounds a little vague when you hear it at first, but it's really about business process management. And that encompasses a lot of workflow and forms type scenarios. So that's another strategic investment area for us. To get started, let's go ahead and walk through some of these pillars and talk a little bit about some of the investments that we're making.
Sounds like a good plan. Share and work together is one of the things that we're going to begin with, and there's some there's some great information in this pillar as you're talking about, Bill. And I think this is what really brought the crowd to its feet yesterday, which was good.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the biggest areas of excitement for those that are waiting for the next generation of our server product. So let's go ahead and talk about what we're doing in that pillar of share and work together. So the very first thing that we're doing is simplifying the site creation experience. So we've created a new, what we call simple site creation. We'll look at a demonstration of how all of this works here in a moment. But simple site creation is really just an effective means of enabling anybody to create a team or a communication site. And that's kind of the key word. Communication sites, obviously, through this, as you can see, are coming to SharePoint Server 2019 as well. But simple site creation really democratizes the experience of being able to create sites in SharePoint Server 2019. And it's also incredibly fast. So we learned a lot through our experience with the new modern site experience in Office 365. And one of the things that we did is we took all of those performance investments that we made in the cloud and brought those to on-premises. So now you can create sites in seconds, whether it's a OneDrive site, a modern Teams site, or even a communication site. Speaking of modern team sites, those will be coming to SharePoint Server 2019. So with the modern team site experience, you're going to get the whole new updated list library, page experience, and you're also going to get team news. So team news is that way that you can communicate across a small group of individuals who are members of a team site. And since the sites are modern, one of the biggest questions we had, or one of the biggest complaints in earlier versions of SharePoint, was that the mobile experience needed a refresh. It needed to be responsive. In past versions of SharePoint, we had that tile-based layout that everybody's probably familiar with.
In the demo you did yesterday from your mobile device, I mean, I was super impressed with how smooth it was and how clean, and it was really it really looks nice on your mobile devices now.
Yeah, it's exceptionally fast too. So the big core areas that we wanted to invest in for team sites is one, we wanted to modernize them. It's been a big ask of our customers to break away from the traditional team site experience and start bringing some of that modern stuff back to 2019. And also to make it fast and mobile ready. So fast, and not only just being fast in respect to how quickly it loads, how quickly you can provision, but also fast from the perspective of you want to be able to customize, and you want to do it relatively easily, and you want to quickly customize and make pages your own.
So a question from Rez. Modern team sites, SharePoint 2019 on premises. Oh, how about Office 365 groups?
Yeah, so in SharePoint Server 2019 with the new team site experience, what you get is the actual team site itself. It's not a group connected site. So you have standalone modern team sites in SharePoint Server 2019 that don't have any kind of affinity to Office 365 groups. So you can really just create a site absent the entire group construct. And to put a little depth into the question, Riza, that you have asked via the chat, Office 365 groups, there's a lot of confusion about what they are, what they aren't. I hear it a lot. Brian probably hears it a lot.
Absolutely.
As well. The easiest way to think about what an Office 365 group is it's an AD or an Azure AD membership construct. It really has nothing to do with the top of the stack technology, Outlook, SharePoint, calendaring, group conversations. Yeah. Really what it is it's a membership construct that allows a single identity to span all of these interconnected applications. So with that said, it becomes a little obvious why we can't bring groups to SharePoint Server 2019. They have an Azure AD dependency because that's their foundation. It's a membership construct. And then it pulls together a bunch of technology outside of SharePoint. So you have obviously Outlook. You have a bunch of other things. So basically what you get, standalone team site. The comment or the follow-up comment is, yes, it's a regular team site. You do get a calendar. So it's not a group calendar. You actually get a calendar within the team site itself. So there's not only a calendar, there's also events and a new events web part. We'll take a look at that in a moment. From a OneNote perspective, OneNotes were a component of the team site experience. So you also get a OneNote. What you don't get is obviously that connected experience with like Skype and all of the other ancillary Office 365 technologies.
Right. Very nice though. And the libraries, I noticed those. I mean, that's really what we've done. What you've done is you've taken what we've been working with in Office 365, kind of I won't say cleaned it up, but like you said, it's improved from what we had for the on-premises, and you've optimized it, and now we've got that clean look, smell, taste, and feel that we've had in Office 365 now, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the big things that we're doing is we're bringing that modern library experience as well to SharePoint Server 2019 as a component of the team sites. So you get an updated and responsive UI. Obviously, what we've done is we've aligned everything with the UI fabric of OneDrive. So OneDrive was one of those first components that we had modernized in Office 365, and we're aligning to that UI fabric. We're also bringing you a consistent sharing experience that spans across both SharePoint and OneDrive, as well as the Office client. So regardless of where you share and how you share, it's a consistent experience. And then the other thing that we've done with these libraries is we've really optimized them for those lightweight structure and process type scenarios. So you can think those traditional content services scenarios. What we're going to do here in a little bit, for those of you who have just joined and for those of you that have been with us, we're going to walk through some of these slides, and then we're going to demonstrate some of this functionality in a live environment. I'll let Brian take a look at some of the questions, and we'll try to get those answered as we move along through today's webinar.
All right, we have another question. And what about customizations, custom JavaScript, JS Link? Will this be possible in SP 2019, or will we also be using PNP and SPFX?
Absolutely. So you'll still be able to do script injection with SharePoint Server 2019. We're still going to fully support full trust code. So for those who like to instrument the server OM, you can definitely still instrument the server OM. That's one of the key pieces of value proposition, particularly for the IT professional who wants to be able to perform bulk tasks, or they want to be able to do some custom provisioning logic. You can definitely still use the server OM. You can also use client-side object model. And on the developer side, we'll talk a little bit towards the end of the presentation today about some of the developer investments, but to just help answer your question, from a custom JavaScript and JS Link, we're also going to support script injection via client-side extensions. So not only will we bring client-side web parts forward into 2019, we're also going to bring client-side extensions for the developer as well. So you'll be able to take advantage of PNP and SharePoint framework, and we're going to have some sample solutions available when we're ready to ship. And again, at the end of the presentation, we'll also talk a little bit about roadmap for those of you who have just joined, to give you an idea of when you can expect 2019 and when you can start using it.
So modern pages. So we've talked about modern sites, we've talked about modern libraries, and I see here we also have modern pages coming in.
Yeah, and this is one of my favorite investments in SharePoint Server 2019. One of the biggest reasons that I'm excited about modern pages is really the mobile aspect. When I talk about mobile, a lot of people look at mobile and say, well, I really don't want to use SharePoint on my mobile device. I don't see a need to use it on my mobile device. I have my laptop. Right. But if you think about it realistically, asking you, Brian, what was the very first thing you picked up today and the very last thing you put down last night?
It's going to be my phone, absolutely.
Exactly. So you spend so much time on your phone, and mobile phones have become so ubiquitous. We wanted to invest in making the mobile experience great for our customers. So as a piece of that, in order to ensure that we've got a great mobile experience, what we've done is we've designed beautiful pages in SharePoint Server 2019 that are easily extensible, customizable, but easily also provisioned and customizable by your end user. We've also created the rich authoring experience. We're going to demonstrate what that looks like here in a moment. And then we're bringing the modern web parts as well to the pages themselves. So you'll be able to take advantage of some of these modern web parts.
What if I have a classic site? Can I take advantage of any of these? Like, can I integrate if I have an existing? I'm kind of like some of the classic experience. Can I use some of the modern pages and modern web parts on a classic site?
Yeah. So actually, what happens from an upgrade perspective is when you upgrade to SharePoint Server 2019, any of the classic sites that you already have provisioned will remain classic sites. The exception is that your lists and libraries will be upgraded to the modern experience. Now, to answer the question that you had, Brian, can I use some of these modern pages in my classic sites? You can absolutely do that. You can go to create a new page, and you can actually create new modern pages within a classic site experience. Nice. The beauty part about that is if you have a classic site, say, and you want to refresh the home page, but you don't want to do it immediately. You want to be able to upgrade to SharePoint 2019, but you want to maintain the classic experience. Maybe if you want to do some user education before you start flipping the UI, you can create a modern page and then over time set it as the new home page. And that'll actually make it Pretty awesome. For Riza's question, can you go back to a classic view? Yes, you can definitely revert back to classic. So one of the other things that we're doing with SharePoint Server 2019 is we're giving you a new sync client as well. So for our on-prem customers, SharePoint Server 2019 represents the first release to where you're not relegated to using Groove as the basis for your sync client. And so what you get is you get the new fast, reliable, and proven sync experience with OneDrive for Business. So you get the next-gen sync client. And you can also connect and sync OneDrive and SharePoint document libraries. Now, the big thing is with this announcement is not only do you get the new sync client, which works great on mobile, also works great on any device, whether it's a Mac or a PC, but you also get files on demand. Which is really cool. So a lot of devices today are smaller form factor. They don't have a lot of storage. So now you get files on demand with the new sync client, with the on-premises version of SharePoint. You also get polling. You also get polling via OneDrive for Business. So you get push notifications when new content's available to be synced, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, very good.
So moving through the presentation this morning, so we can get into some demos, we're going to talk about one more section before we start demonstrating some of this functionality. So this piece is that idea of informing and engaging your employees. So as you can see already from what we've shown you, and for those of you joining, we're going to demonstrate what we've talked about thus far here in a moment. But what we're going to look at now is how do you keep your organization up to date on what's going on? And that's been kind of one of the key challenges in SharePoint. I'm sure you, Brian, have provisioned a team site and added team members to it.
Yeah.
And one of the big things about that is how do I communicate with them? Well, in most cases, you send email back and forth.
Say email.
Right.
Exactly.
So you're leaving the SharePoint experience and you're going into email to keep people informed about what's happening inside of SharePoint. Now what we're doing with SharePoint 2019 is we're making it easier to keep your organization informed, whether it's a small business unit, a small team, or even the entire organization. So what we're going to allow you to do now is you can actually create communication sites in SharePoint Server 2019. So that's huge. Communication sites are actually coming to SharePoint Server 2019. So you can create these new, beautiful, dynamic sites that also include news. So you can create news on the communication sites and you can disseminate all that news across your organization, keeping everybody up to date and apprised of what's going on, whether related to SharePoint or any business announcements you need to be able to make. And it can also serve as a great homepage for your intranet. So you can think of it as a what you see is what you get homepage for your internet, for your intranet internally. And we're going to look at a demonstration of how that looks as well.
What about hub sites? Those have become very, very popular. And how's that going to be? Is that going to be something we're going to have available on-prem at this point? Or
so when we release SharePoint Server 2019, we're not going to have hub sites natively in the product when we ship. The reason is hub sites were developed in parallel to SharePoint Server 2019. So from a timing perspective, really the only things that we can include in the server are those things that are actually complete. When you're on premises, we have less of an opportunity to deliver you updates at a rapid cadence. Otherwise, you'd be installing cumulative updates every day in order to take advantage of the latest functionality. So what we've done is we've really waited to introduce functionality that has been fully baked inside of Office 365 before we bring it back. Hub sites are still too new to include when we release here in the future. We'll talk about the release dates when we get to the end of the presentation. But one of the things it is done is team news. So we can actually help keep you up to date with team news. So you can keep small teams up to date, broadcast information to those teams. So within the context of a team site, you can almost think about it as being a great social element to just keeping the team updated through rich, beautiful pages. The great part about team news is team news also cascades down to the mobile device. So regardless of where you are, whether you're in your browser or on your mobile device, you can actually take advantage of team news and basically put SharePoint in your pocket. And that's kind of one of the things that I'm excited about is now I can take SharePoint with me on the go. I can sync my sites, all the sites that I follow, the links, the people, all of those become available to me on my mobile device now, which is really cool.
No, I've installed the SharePoint app on my mobile device quite a while back. Is there anything new that should I get a newer version of it or?
Yeah, you'll definitely get a notification to upgrade your version of the SharePoint mobile app. And the mobile app itself is the same mobile applications used for both cloud and on-premises now. So When you go to authenticate, it's going to ask you where you want to authenticate to, Office 365 or SharePoint Server. You choose SharePoint Server, and you get a very similar experience as you would with the mobile experience for SharePoint Online. And that's because we've brought so many of the UI elements back down. Speaking of UI elements, search, we're bringing the modern search experience. We're also improving language support for right to left and left to right. So in both directions, we're including great improvements in language support. But the biggest thing that I'm excited about is contextual results, and they're also type ahead results. And I'll demonstrate kind of how powerful that is here in a moment. And then you also get the modern search experience, regardless of where you're searching from, whether you're searching from a site or you're searching from within SharePoint Home.
What about hybrid search? Is there anything, if I'm running hybrid search now, anything new changes there?
Yeah, so the hybrid search experience is actually really cool now as well for a couple of reasons. The hybrid search experience will now take advantage of all of these modern elements. We announced here at the conference a ton of investments, more investments in intelligence and search and pulling those together. So if you're using hybrid search, you can take advantage of all of the intelligence inside of Office 365, effectively the Microsoft Graph, our single endpoint for intelligence and information across Office 365 or across Microsoft Cloud. So you'll have that. The other thing, too, is provisioning hybrid search is now basically like a 3-click process. We actually have a wizard and that'll walk you through provisioning hybrid search. But with standalone search natively inside of SharePoint 2019, you get the contextual type ahead results. Again, we're going to demonstrate this here in a moment, a few more slides before we go into a long demo segment. Some of the other things, Project Server 2019 is a native component of SharePoint Server 2019. One of the biggest things, since we're sitting here on a Tuesday, is Friday we're entering a new era in privacy. So GDPR is going to be a big thing starting Friday and into the future. Native GDPR support comes with Project Server 2019 baked into SharePoint Server 2019. In addition to that, we've made accessibility improvements. You get new, nice, modern, updated email notifications. You can now manage your projects using team assignments and unique project IDs. And you also get time-phased reporting. So Project Server becomes a native component of SharePoint Server 2019. Now here we are. This is kind of the point that everybody gets excited about, demonstrating some of this functionality. So
there's some great stuff you got here.
So without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over away from slides and into demo real quick. So if you would be so kind on the chat, just let us know when you can see the demo screen, and that way we know it is clear for us to proceed. So just give me one moment while we switch over to demo. It'll just take a second. So we're going to pull that up, and let's just make sure that everybody can see it. So if you can see the screen right now, just go ahead and give us a shout out and let us know that you can see the screen. Looks like Riza can see it, so thank you very much for letting us know. So one of the first things that you'll notice here is I actually have a communication site provisioned as my root URL for SharePoint on premises. And that's really cool because now I have the ability to create effectively a homepage for my intranet. I can take a communication site inside of SharePoint 2019 and provision it as my homepage for my organization. So in my particular case, what I did is I created an executive corner site inside of SharePoint Server 2019 to use as a mechanism to keep all of my organization apprised of important news as it relates to Contoso travel here. So as you can see, I'm publishing news. It's nice and responsive. So you can see the parallax effects and some of the back-end JavaScript work. So as you notice, I hover over these. They zoom in a little bit. So I can come in. I can zoom into these. I can actually customize these. So in this case, leadership accountability at Contoso. I'll click on that to give you an idea of what modern pages look like. So as you can see here, I've got a nice new modern page. Leadership accountability, as you can see, again, a nice parallax effect. If I had more text, it would actually overflow into there. I can come down and I can add comments. So I can add a comment to this article. So again, it almost adds a social layer into your conversations. So I can say great article. And as you can see, I can post it. Very quickly it pops up. And now the author of that article can quickly reply and again, comment in a nice threaded form in relationship to that article. If I want to promote something, so let's go ahead and go back to the home page real quick. So I'm going to go to the home of the Executive Corner. As you can see, we've made an announcement that we have deepened our partnership with Tailspin. So I'll go ahead and click on that announcement. Now, in this particular case, this was a merger and acquisition type scenario, so it's probably something I want to keep the entire company informed of, right. That they've got some new friends joining Contoso Travel from Tailspin. So what I can do is I can actually promote that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click on promote. And from a promote perspective, what you can see is it says help others find your page. So when I click the promote button, I can add the page to the navigation really quickly. I can actually post it as news, to which this case I have already posted it as news, but I want more people to see it. A lot of people still live in their inbox, and Outlook's that primary mechanism of getting information. So I can create great articles, and then I can email it out to everybody. Or if I wanted to, if I'm using some other social layer in my organization, I can come in here and I can copy the address, and then I can just send that address out to everybody via a team chat here. So I could just paste that into the window if I wanted to. Or I can add the page to navigation so everybody can see it. So I'm just going to click on add to navigation. You see how quickly that lit up. And if you noticed one thing, when I close that, the page didn't even have to refresh, and look what happened. Nice. So it's all dynamic. I don't have to wait for refreshes. And as you can see, I've already added that to my navigation as well. So if I wanted to edit this page, super simple. I can just come in, I can click edit. And by clicking the edit button here, as you can see, it prepares my page for editing. And I can come in, I can make changes to that, so I can rename it. If I wanted to add a background image to it, so as you can see, I can click here, and I can click a background image. And once I have my background image, I can click open. So we'll just go ahead and open that up. And as you can see, I have a nice new background image. I don't like the way it's kind of cropping everybody. So what I can do is I can quickly come over here. As you can see, I can select a focal point and just move this around a little bit as well. Very nice. So if I wanted to, I can bring them into focus. So you notice what happened when I first put it, we had it cropped, but I can bring them into focus and keep it just like that. I can go in and I can edit the text if I wanted to. I can move it around. So as you can see, I can grab the web part and I can drag it around if I wanted to. If I wanted to add more stuff to this, super simple. You notice I can come in here, click the column button, and here's a great new set of web parts as well. So I can add maybe a file viewer to it if I wanted to. I can also come in, change events. Riza's asking about page layouts as well. So let me give you an idea of what that looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and discard the changes that I made and just revert. So as you can see, discards them real easy. I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna go ahead, and as you can see, I've got this as a top level header in that navigation bar. I really don't want it to be a top level header. I kind of want to bring it down a little bit. So if I wanted to, I could come in here and click the ellipsis and I can make it a sublink, which is really cool. So it became a top level link, but it's not really a big piece of my navigation. So I can come in and make that a sublink of pages. But in my case, let's go ahead and remove it. I don't need that on there anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and save, and I'm going to answer Riza's question here with a quick demonstration. So I'm going to go back to home. Now, in your case, you asked about page layout options. Obviously, from an extensibility perspective, our work in client-side extensions as well as web parts with the SharePoint framework are coming to SharePoint Server 2019. You can leverage those more pro developer options in order to do customization. But one of the other cool things that you can do is quickly create pages. And this is kind of democratizing the ability to be a designer inside of SharePoint. Let's take a look real quick. So I can click the gear up here at the top. Simply click add a page. You see how quickly it allowed me to add a page. I can give my page a name. We're going to call this SPC 18 Webinar Demo. As you can see, I've got a title. Maybe I want to add an image to that. I'm going to come in. I like this path ahead with the little road. I'm going to click open. As you can see, I've got my image. Again, I could set the focal point if I wanted to. But really what I want to do is create a great page layout. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to use our hero web part. So as you can see now, I've got a hero web part added into the page. I can edit my hero web part. So when I click edit, I can set it up the way I want to. The default right here was a 5-tile layout. I can actually come in and turn this into a 3-tile layout. So I'm going to go ahead and call it 3-tile. I'm going to just really quickly publish my page just to show you a few quick little things. Go ahead and close that and not promote it. I'm going to go back into edit real quick. So as you can see, when I wasn't ready to go, I could do that. Here's my hero layout here on the screen. As you can see, I can drop images in here or a document or a page. So what I can do is select a link. So I'm just going to click on that. And let's see, what do I want to put on this page? Well, I think I want to put maybe my tailspin page on there. That seems like it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I'll drop my tailspin page. I'll click open. So I can actually embed a page into a hero layout. Now maybe over here, I want to select a link again. I can do a number of different things. I could add images, I could add video, maybe I want to add a document. So since we're talking about our partnership, maybe I want to add the strategic growth document into there. I could click on open that up. And if I wanted to, I could change the title and I could say learn more and click that. Maybe I want to do a custom image. In my case, I did. Or I can come in and just say, you know what, just do color only. That looks pretty cool. And then I have some more options as well from a page layout design. So we're going to go ahead, drop that in there. As you can see, it says learn more. Down here, it says learn more. Let's go ahead and select another link real quick. We're just going to add some more stuff to this page to build a page really quick. We'll call this one path ahead. Come in. In this case, I want to add a custom image. Since that page already had a custom image associated with it, as you can see, it automatically brings that in and tells me, hey, you've already got one. Show the title and the layout. No, in this case, I like the image. I don't want to show a title.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go ahead, close that. We're going to click publish and come back here in a moment. So my page has been published. So what we can do now is, again, we could promote it. I'll go ahead and click refresh. So as you can see, I'm just basically creating a really quick page real easily. If I wanted to, I could come in and edit it and make it even more compelling. So I could, drop other stuff in there. So if I wanted to, as we're looking at pages, I could add captions to existing images. Maybe I want to add a file viewer to answer Riza's question earlier about calendar. Look at this, I can add events to it. But to give you an idea, I'm going to go ahead and discard any changes to this particular page. We're going to go back to home because you had asked about calendars. Of course, you get a calendar inside of SharePoint pages, but you also get a great new events calendar as well. So I can come in and quickly create custom events. So in our case, we merged with Tailspin Toys, and I published a great new article via my communication site to announce the merger.
Very sweet.
And I created a great new page to give people more in-depth information. But perhaps I want to have a webinar, maybe a webinar more successfully than Brian and I tried to have a little bit this morning, one that actually works and starts on time.
Exactly.
So what I can do is I can come in and actually create an event, and I can say webinar on Tailspin. Tailspin merger. So I can create a little webinar. I can give it a time. So I can say from 1 to 2. I can give it an event, and the location could be a number of different things. So as you can see, I can drop in existing information, but maybe I want to come in and say MGM Grand or just put a location in there. But maybe it's a Skype meeting. So I can come in and actually enter the meeting link for the Skype meeting and then the display name for that Skype meeting. And then I can categorize it as well. So I can come in and say it's a business meeting, and then I can give it some text. And the next question is Bing Maps. We do have Bing integration into our search experience to answer Riza's question as well. And for Thomas, I haven't forgot about workflows and forms. So we'll be talking about that.
Yeah, we're saving that
here in a moment.
End. Yeah.
So I'll just come back in real quick. We're going to leave this page. I don't want to create an event. Brian, you want to see some team sites?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right.
They look great.
So let's go ahead and hop into the team site experience. But how are we going to get there? We've also introduced a great new SharePoint home experience. So when I click on SharePoint, the first thing that you see is SharePoint Home. So we brought SharePoint Home into SharePoint Server 2019, and it's really one of my favorite things inside of SharePoint. And the reason that SharePoint Home, that I'm so passionate about it, is at Microsoft, I'm probably a member of hundreds of team sites. In the past, trying to keep up with changes that have occurred in all of these different team sites meant going to email and seeing if somebody sent me a mail, get a mail from Brian, hey, Bill, I updated this webinar today, right, and it's got a new link. The only reason I knew that is because I was checking email.
You happen to check your email.
Right, and I just happened to check my email, or I send a document out for review, and then I'm constantly checking email, waiting for a reply. or waiting to see if the document's been edited. But as you can see now, all I have to do is follow a site in SharePoint Server 2019. And by virtue of following it via SharePoint Home, I get apprised of all of the things that have transpired against the sites that I care about. So in human resources, you can see there's been a number of modifications to different files as well as different pages on those sites. So now all the information I care about is right there. We've also got suggestions. So as you can see, I get suggested sites, and it's really showing me some suggestions, and it's telling me, hey, the executive corner is super important. But as an IT professional who owns my SharePoint environment, I want to make sure that everybody's aware of the executive corner because of our merger. I can just come in and edit featured links and publish those out to my entire organization.
Very nice.
So I can add a featured link, and I can come in real quick and give it a name. So I can say merger, and maybe I want to create a new team site for merger. And what we'll do is we'll just give it a generic link. I can hide that in the mobile app if I wanted to and just make it available via the browser, which is really cool.
Very nice.
So mobile and SharePoint are integrated super tight together. I can click here and add merger now. So everybody in my organization sees merger. If I wanted to, again, I could hide it in the mobile app so nobody sees it in the mobile app. If I need to edit it, I can do a ton of stuff. So now we're done. I've got all of that there. So you can see, because human resources is important to me, I'm getting news from all of my sites as well. So I'm getting all of my team news. But let's go ahead and look at one of the sites that I care about. Let's look at a team site experience in 2019. So I can pop over here and go to our marketing site. It's one of my favorite sites. I'm going to hop into marketing real quick. As you can see, we've got the modern team site experience. I have the hero layout here. So as you can see, I have news from my team sites. And as you mentioned, Riza, site activity, yep, it's available as well. So as you can see, I have site activity for my team site. So as you can see, I've got all of this site activity right here in my team site, whether those are file additions, file edits, uploads,
Awesome.
changes to page news. I can edit the navigation very easily. Very similar way I can create sublinks. I can move these up or down, change them the way that I want to. I can also come down if I wanted to. You can comment on the sites, again, bringing that social element. One of the other things is you can see the team news is kind of laid out in an interesting way. Maybe, I want to do something, different from that perspective. So I can just click the gear. I can also look at site information. Really cool. So as you can see, I have an M logo for marketing. I can come in and I can change that, give it a better logo, upload something from my machine, change the site name or description. I can dive deep into site settings. Again, I can come in here. I can make edits to the page. The sharing experience is modernized, so I can simply click share. As you can see, I've got the new modern sharing experience. Maybe I want to add Alex to my team site, Alex Wilbur. I can include a personalized message. I can come in, send the email invitation, do permissioning real quick, looked at shared with, and as you can see, I've already shared this site with Alex, so I don't need to share it again. I can come in, make any edits that I need to be able to look at. I can edit information about myself. So really cool experience end to end. I can also change the look, and I get the new theming experience as well. So this is really cool. So marketing site's red. Let's go ahead and make it blue, and you can see how quickly everything changed from red to blue. So I can add my own elements and create my own design. So I can actually say, you know what, I like the dark blue design for marketing, and I can apply that. So I can also come down now, and I have a nice, clean site for marketing. Looks really cool. I can follow the site. Again, if I wanted to add stuff to it, simply come up here, click the new button, add a new post, or add a new app. So I can add a new app real quick, find all of those applications. Super easy to do that. Again, I can come in, say site settings, site contents, look at all the things that are within the site. So I can look at the sub-sites, look at the style library, site workflows, site settings. Again, workflow we'll get to here in a moment. You wanted to see the About Me. I'll show you that real quick. So that's effectively the OneDrive experience. So let's go ahead and go back to our marketing site real quick. So we're just going to choose marketing. We should have our nice new theme there. Yep, we've got our nice blue site, so that edit stuck. So let's just pop right in and do a couple of things. So you wanted to see About Me, so I'm going to come in. I'm going to click on About Me. What it's going to do is you'll notice I changed over to the URL changed over to OneDrive, and here I am, and it's actually setting up my profile now. But while it sets it up, I can just come in real quickly and edit my profile. So it's not the design experience. So yes, you do have site design and site themes available to you. And as you can see, I have the sign out experience. So one more time, back to marketing, just to show you a few more things before we move into a couple of other areas. So libraries, we talked about libraries. You get modern libraries in SharePoint 2019. So as you can see, I have the modern library experience. I can actually pin to top if I wanted to, important information, click it, click the ellipsis, and choose pin to top. I can also open it in Word online or in Word. I can share it. I can get a copy link, look at the version history, rename, do a ton of stuff with these documents. Look at the compliance details. Look at the file details. So when I click details, it takes me to the information pane, gives me a great preview. It's actually a live preview, so I can scroll through there and look at the document.
That's awesome.
So as you can see, I'm reading the document. I can manage access right here, which is super cool. So I can just click on manage access and add people. So if I want to add somebody, I can just share, and I can add perhaps Alex. I can click on Alex. I can send Alex an email, or I can copy the link. I can come down and use these different sharing options, choose to allow editing or not. So I can say allow Alex to edit, and I can send Alex that link now. I can also make changes in here. Maybe marketing members, as you can see, they have edit. You know what? I may want them to only have view. You can see I just updated permissions from edit to view that quickly. Other thing I can do is say, you know what, stop sharing with these individuals. So we're going to go ahead, pop in here real quick. You can also see I've got document properties. I can update the title if I want to. So I can say ACC 1000. So now I'm updating the metadata associated with the document. Pretty sweet. Watch this though. Edit all, and I can come in and rename the document itself through edit all. Maybe I want to give the document a new name. So I can actually come in here and rename this particular document and call it draft and give it a name. And you guys are actually seeing more demos than we had
absolutely are
had an opportunity to show.
Yeah, we didn't see a lot of this yesterday. Well, you know,
right.
Yeah, you got busy in a hurry yesterday, definitely.
So here's one of the really cool things that you probably didn't notice, and it's almost a sleight of hand or a magic trick since we're here in Las Vegas. In prior versions of SharePoint, you had to wait to figure out what happened to a document. As you can see, I just renamed the document and made some changes. Look at the file activity pane for recent activity. It already picked up the rename. So it already shows that I renamed it and made edits. Now watch this. I can come down and actually look at this ellipsis, and I can dive into the details of what transpired against that document. So in this case, it was just an edit, a brief edit. But as you can see, I can look into the details to see exactly what happened. So the information pane's cool. I can also come in and filter. So you notice I just click the filter bar. I can say filter my library by PowerPoint presentations. And if I come over here, you can see how quickly it filtered. Let's say I want to get information about everything. I can come up here, click on them all, click information. What's going to happen is it's not going to let me bulk edit, but it's actually going to let me go in and choose stuff. The question was, can I create columns on the fly? Columns are things everybody seems to like. So let me just come over here, click information to get rid of it. You sure can. Plus,
nice.
Maybe single line of text, SPC demo, save, new column. I can come in.
There's some new column options as well.
Oh, there actually are. Now, as you can see, one of the cool things that you're able to do, format this column, which is really cool. So for bulk updates, lists, and libraries, you can definitely do that as well. I can show hide these columns. I can actually change the column itself. In this particular case, I can filter it now. I can apply some column settings. I can hide the column, move it. I can pin it to the filters page to really make it stand out. Now what we're going to look at is I'm going to go ahead my marketing site that we've just designed in a brief second. Let's go ahead and look at site contents real quick. As you can see, I've got a list here. Brian and I have been doing a ton of conference prep to get ready for this session. One of the biggest things that we have to do is herd cats. So in this particular case, you're looking at the new list experience in SharePoint Server 2019. One of the cool things that you can already see, column formatting's come into SharePoint Server 2019. So I've got a status column as well as an effort in days. Let's say I want to edit one of these. Click the quick edit button. So what it's going to do is it's actually going to take me to quick edit. The effort in days has gone down from 100 days to 10 days. The other problem is, though, is we're not done. But before I click that button, I'm going to exit Quick Edit. I'm going to show you that the changes were picked up. Effective days, you notice that shrunk down to 10 days from 100, but you notice the status is green. The status is green because it says it's done. Well, Brian lied to me because he didn't actually get it done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and come in and click Quick Edit. I'm going to change it from being done to in progress.
Almost done.
Almost done. It's still at effort of 10 days. I'm going to come in, exit Quick Edit. You'll notice it says in progress.
Perfect.
Here's the other thing. Perhaps herding cats is a challenge that we've been having all week. So I'm going to go back into Quick Edit. Herding cats has been problematic, as those of you who tried to join this morning have come to learn. So what I'm going to do now is say it's blocked. We're unable to herd these cats. So I'm going to exit Quick Edit. And as you can see right there in the UX, column formatting allowed me to just automatically turn that red with a custom icon that says blocked. And again, I can come in and edit these in a number of different ways. If I wanted to herd cats this way within the list, I could come in and I could make all of the edits right here and just perform a bulk edit. So now as you can see, we've got a nice bulk editing flyout. And I can see assignment, who the task is assigned to. I can come in and add attachments, change the effort, or I can get a link to this particular item. I can see who has access, change those access levels very quickly via there. I can also come and look at recent activity. As you can see, almost instantaneous. It shows me the edits. I can drill down and look at the edits. As you can see, I edited herd cats. So you can actually drill down into these items. I can come in, filter, check assignments, see what's assigned to Alex maybe. I could come in and say who's blocked today, which tasks are in progress. And this is all the modern list experience in 2019. What's not started, what's in review. So that's all pretty cool as well. Again, 1 and 2 could create custom views, look at it a number of different ways. Let's go back to the document library experience again. Again, I can look at it in a couple of different ways. I can look at it in a tile-based layout. I can look at it as a compact list. I can create some views. I can come in, select documents, and do stuff with them. Here's the document we were playing with a minute ago. I can actually download it, delete it, but I can also perform other operations, such as copy to and move to. So maybe I want to copy this file somewhere else. That easy. Boom. Let's create a new folder. We're going to call that demo. Click copy here. Now, we're going to come back. As you can see, done. So, click on the My Document Library. We should have a new folder here in a moment called Demo. So let's just click on Documents, give that a refresh really quick. And what we're going to do is we copied this to a new folder. And effectively what we've done is we've laid it down into a demo folder, but we've got a nice flat view here so we can see all of my files regardless of where they're stored. So it's really, really cool to be able to do that. OneDrive for Business, a lot of those same features and functionalities are coming to that as well. So I can come in and I can look at Shared with Me. And as you can see, I can see that Patty and Alex have shared files with me, so I can find them real quick. Great new recycle bin experience. I can look at my recent files, so the ones that I've been editing and manipulating. Come in and again, change views, go to a compact list, look at them, perform all of those options, open in Word Online. I can click on Files. When we ship SharePoint Server 2019, Files Restore won't be part of that. Just to answer your question real quick, I can also see all of the sites I care about, so this is really cool. As you can see, I like marketing. I'm going to click on marketing, and it's just going to take me right to the marketing library, so I can quickly come in and do a bunch of cool stuff with that as well. Again, I can also come in and edit these pages real quick. So I'm going to go back to SharePoint Home, show you one last thing. Let's say I need a new site real quick. Tailspin Toys, we merged with them, but they're still a separate company. They need their own communication site. I'm going to click the button, choose to create a site. For those of you just joining, communication sites are part of 2019, so I can click in there. Now, as you can see, I can choose the type of design I want. I can either do a topic or a showcase. So showcase gives you an idea of what it looks like on mobile as well as in the browser. Or I can create a blank one as a starting point for my own innovation. We'll create a showcase site. We're going to call this Tailspin Travel. So I'm going to call it Tailspin Travel. Purpose of the site, maybe I want to give it some name. Site address, maybe I don't like it with that in there. I can actually come in and edit the site address right there. We'll just keep it the way it is. Looks good to me. Click Finish. It's going to say Creating Site. And what we're going to do here momentarily, we're actually going to have a site. There is Tailspin Travel. That's how quickly you can create a communication site. That was a matter of 5 seconds. And this is an environment I'm running on the East Coast to create a new communication site. And check this out. I've got a brand new communication site with beautiful parallax effects, as you can see right there. So we've got nice overflow, via the Office UI fabric. And now I want to share this site with somebody. I can click on Share Site and say, hey, Alex, guess what? We've got this cool site. Boom, share. Now Alex's permissions are in there. So as you can see, I gave him read by accident. You know what? Maybe I want to give him full control. So I can just update his permissions. Alex has already updated that. Quick to update those permissions. So the default images, I'm not quite sure where those default images come from. But if you're not a designer and you want to use what we gave you, you've got a beautiful site right here. Now you can come in and start creating documents. You can start creating pages. If I want to create a page, simple click, come in and actually create a new page. Boom, new page. I can export to Excel really easily, do a ton of cool stuff. Maybe I want to be alerted as this changes. Now, if I go back to SharePoint Home, you'll notice I automatically followed Tailspin Travel. Reason is because I'm the owner and I created it. There's no recent activity because we haven't done anything yet, but if I wanted to, I could come in and unfollow that particular site. So as you can see, it's going to flash until the unfollowing logic kicks up. And then, of course, we also have, your traditional standalone project type scenario. So I can come in here and look at tasks, sorting, a couple of different things. So this shows you that we have a classic team site experience inside of modern SharePoint. So what we're going to do now is we've done a ton of demo over the last couple of minutes, and we hope you've enjoyed the demos. But let's just pop right back into slides in the interest of time. So we're going to go from browser to the slides. We just did about a good 15 minutes or so, demo.
Very good demo.
For Thomas, thanks for bearing with us. Let's talk about your workflow and what we're doing there. So hopefully everybody can see the slides again as well. So what's happening for workflow? We're actually bringing in more integration via the connector with Power Apps and Flow. So you'll be able to leverage the Power Apps and Flow experience with SharePoint 2016 via the connector. And we're doing a bunch of work around column formatting, metadata support, and a ton of new SharePoint 2019 integration capabilities into the Power Apps and Flow experience. You'll also have available to you Workflow Manager and Workflow Foundation. So, people have, 2010 workflows, 2013 workflows that they still want to be able to use. You can definitely continue to use those in 2019.
It's a new improved Workflow Manager, right?
Exactly, yeah. We've got a ton of improvements. It's basically a new and improved SharePoint Workflow Manager as well. And you're more than welcome after the webinar to hit up me and Brian via Twitter, and I can help answer some of those questions. So if you really want to dive deep into what's new in Workflow Manager, I can help you. But, today we're already running up on an hour here in 8 minutes. So, we want to try to keep moving along. But you'll be able to take advantage of Power Apps and Flow and Workflow Manager and Workflow Foundation as part of that experience. So we're just going to go ahead and skip into hybrid real quick. So we'll start talking a little bit about IT professionals. We're making hybrid easy now. So we've showed you a ton of cool stuff that you can do natively on premises with SharePoint Server 2019. But some of you may be ready to put one foot in the cloud. And if you are ready to do so, hybrid is easy now. It's not some complicated 300-page document full of PowerShell.
Click, 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 click.
Yeah, that you have to figure out, and you're copying and pasting scripts, and you always forget to change the URL, and you just copy the toso.com URL, and you can never figure out why the commandlet fails. Now what we're doing from a hybrid perspective is as soon as you install SharePoint, there's a banner that says, hey, get more out of SharePoint, connect to the cloud. So if you see our screenshot of central administration here today, it says unleash the full potential of SharePoint with hybrid. All you have to do is click on that. It's going to fire up a wizard, and it's going to configure hybrid for you, whether that's search or anything else.
Now with this, back to Power Apps and Flow, I need some sort of connectivity to the cloud in order for us to take advantage of on-prem. Is that correct? Did I understand that correctly?
Yep, absolutely.
Can I do that through that? Is it just using this image right here, this wizard?
Yep.
Will that make that available to us?
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly. Good.
So the other thing too is licenses. Yeah, you'll need licenses for Power Apps and Flow in order to use that functionality. Effectively, what we're doing is leveraging the cloud logic in Power Apps and Flow and bringing that into SharePoint itself. You had a question about converting classic to modern. Yep. So when you upgrade from SharePoint to SharePoint 2019, your sites will remain classic sites, and then you can begin to work on the modernization experience thereafter. So we don't force you into modern sites right from the beginning because we know people have dependencies, user training, getting people familiar with the new sites.
And similar to upgrading from 2010 to 2016, we have to do that temporary interim stop to 2013 to get to 16. If you're coming from 13, you do this. You're going to do use the same approach. You'll go from 2013 do an interim to 2016, and then you can go up to 2019. So there won't be a direct shot up from 13 to 19. You will make that interim stop.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other things we're doing for our IT professional audience is no more anonymous relays just for SharePoint. You know, it sounds relatively benign, but it's been a big ask of administrators across organizations because SharePoint was really the only app left where you needed anonymous relays. So now SharePoint supports SMTP, or actually SharePoint can authenticate to your SMTP email servers. So as you can see here in Central Administration, you can choose from a mail security perspective in 2019 whether you want anonymous or authenticated. And if you choose authenticated, then you can pop in the credentials, and then you can also choose to use TLS connection encryption to enhance security to avoid malware and spam. Other infrastructure improvements, we're going to start moving a little bit faster. Expanded character support, so you can have all of the cool characters and file and folder names, whether it's pound, percent, or anything else. We're taking the max path from 256 to 400. Recycle bin is security trimmed. You can recover deleted content by others, which is really cool, from your recycle bin. So your content, if it's deleted by others. So one of the things Brian likes to do with me is I'll share a document with Brian. I'll give him full control so he can edit the document and Brian deletes it. So instead of going directly to Brian's recycle bin and being hidden out there, it actually shows up in my recycle bin because I own that document. So if I'm the owner of the document, regardless of who deletes it, it actually shows up in my recycle bin.
That's awesome.
So I have a link to it, and I'm able to restore even though the action was performed by somebody else. So it kind of comes back to your restore question, Riza. Modern IS integration, we've removed all the old dependencies, and we're switching to the modern IS APIs as well. On the developer side, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to get client-side web parts and client-side extensions available to you. So you can do a lot of cool stuff with JavaScript injection via extensions, as well as app extensions. So it's going to be really cool for developers. So on the software side, what do you need to start thinking about to get ready? Windows Server 2016 or 2019 are the core infrastructure requirements on Windows. On the database side, SQL 2016 or SQL 2017. In my environment, I'm actually running 2017. And just to answer your question real quick, Riza, the answer is yes. Makes it a little bit easier as we're moving along and running out of time. So I'll just answer with short yes or no brief responses. Prerequisites, there's a lot of prerequisites. I'm not going to walk through each one of these. They're effectively a lot of the similar things that you're probably already familiar with SharePoint. Again, the presentation will be recorded, so if you want to look at the details, such as what maps to what, you can see it here in this slide. But again, in the interest of time, we'll kind of move forward, get towards the end. So SharePoint, thank you so much, Riza. And we don't mind your questions at all. They've been great.
Absolutely.
You can definitely hit us up on Twitter as well. So SharePoint 2019 moving forward, what are we going to be doing? So on November 30th, we opened up our TAP program with about 300 participants. The idea of the TAP program is to get early feedback, have large customers deploy it in production environments so we know how well it scales. We know the upgrade issues. We can resolve those. Coming this summer, we're going to launch public preview. Summer of 2018. So we're just a few, you look at it two ways. We're either 2 months away or we're 60 days away. But we're going to have a public preview available. Everybody's going to be able to download it, take advantage of it. We're going to have an image available in Azure. So if you're using Azure for your virtual machines, there'll be a new image, and you can provision an environment. We'll announce that as we get into summer. And then we plan to release in the fall. So just shortly after public preview, we're going to take your feedback that you've given us from public preview, and we're going to get into the fall. So with that said, I'm going to show you one last demo before we conclude. So this is actually our conclusion slide, but we've still got 1 minute. So with 1 minute, we're going to go back to Safari. So we are back here in Safari. Everybody should be able to see my screen. I'm in SharePoint. Let's go ahead and look at a different site. We're going to look at our HR site real quick. So here we are in our HR site. Great looking site. Like the way it looks. Let's look at the document library real quick. So here are my documents, as you can see, getting around. But you know what? Since you're going to hit us up on Twitter, the one thing you need to remember is always to use hashtags. So one of the great parts about 2019, as I mentioned in the IT Pro piece, let's call this document hashtag getting around. Check that out. I can use special characters now in my documents, so that's definitely going to help you from a migration perspective. So not only is it hashtag getting around, and as you can see how quickly I can change and rename these documents. The only characters that we don't support are the characters that Windows doesn't support. Remember when I told you everything gets picked up fast in 2019? Check this out. Boom, info, all of my edits are going to show up as recent activity. One last thing that I forgot to show you before we conclude the webinar. Search. I told you we have contextual type ahead search results in a modern search experience. Check this out. Contoso. See how quickly that popped up? What's really cool about that is for those of you that have been through all of the demos earlier when we did about the 20-minute demo segment, one of the cool things that I was working with is we started off the demo segment talking about how it's important to communicate news across the organization. One of the important pieces of news was deepening the partnership with Tailspin. The search results are now contextual. You'll notice when I start typing in Contoso, the first result I get is Contoso deepens partnership, because that's the information I cared about when I first signed into SharePoint Server 2019. So it's effectively almost like a machine learning algorithm that can figure out what's important to me, and it gives me contextual type ahead search results. It shows me both sites and files, but maybe I want to see more. So I can click on see more. If there's nothing available, there's nothing available. It'll tell you we can't find what you're looking for. Demo environment, not a ton of stuff. I can come in and filter though and say, just show me the sites. Or just show me the files. So in this case, there's nothing to show, but let's go ahead and expand that search result to Contoso. There's all my files. If I want to come in, I can actually say, you know what, show me all the sites related to Contoso if there are, the people. I can look at the news related to Contoso, so I can actually search team news. We'll go back to sites, nothing there. Files, filter by files. You can see how quick all of this is happening right here in the browser. I can click on a file. Oh, and guess what? Check that out. I can actually view that now. Sharing experience, even though I'm in the Office web app, exactly the same. I can manage access from there as well. I can come in, click the ellipsis, download, embed. If I wanted to embed it, boom, pop in here, copy the embed source, bring that into my modern page, and we can go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and bring us up to the conclusion slide, see if Brian wants to say a few quick words before we adjourn for the rest of the day.
All right, yeah. Again, well, thanks very much, Bill, for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're bopping between hundreds of meetings over the next few days, so we all appreciate you taking time to spend with us and go through that demo that you actually did more demos than you did in the session yesterday, so that was sweet. We'll get this recorded and get it all trimmed up and get it up and published as soon as we can. We appreciate your patience as we scrambled through some technical issues this morning, but we got it to work. And again, thank you very much for joining us today. If you have any questions, my email is brian.alderman@mindshop.com. And then we also have William Bear is his Twitter handle, and mine is Brian Alderman, no spaces or anything in that. So any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And again, we appreciate your time today, and we look forward to working with you in the near future.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, everybody, and thanks for your patience. We'll get this cleaned up and published and send out a link as soon as we have it.